welcome to VMC. I'm Dr. M. Today we are going to dive into the problem of brachycephalic breed popularity. I'm specifically going to be talking about the French Bulldog because for the second year in a row, it is the dog registered most often with the American Kennel Club. Let's learn something. As a caveat, I do want to acknowledge that the French Bulldog popularity in the US does not extend worldwide. For example, even in the neighboring country of Canada, the Labrador is the most often registered breed with the CKC. The popularity of the French Bulldog is a concern for a few reasons. The French Bulldog and brachycephalic breeds in general have innumerable health problems, and these often cost their people thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in an attempt to try to manage these issues. It's often that these are uncurable problems and that we just hope to manage them throughout the dog's life. And these health issues cause significant quality of life and welfare concerns for these dogs. It's because of this that the French Bulldog is considered one of the most unhealthy dog breeds, and they have the shortest lifespan. Of course, it would take hours for me to talk through in depth every single problem, so we are going to lump them into the following broad categories. 1, respiratory issues. 2, nervous system issues. 3, eye, skin, and orthopedic, a little bit of a catch-all. So let's dive in. To address the common respiratory issues, we first need to understand that the French Bulldog is considered a brachycephalic breed. The dogs have been bred to have shorter and shorter and shorter noses, and this causes major problems for the dog. This is something that humans have done through selective breeding without any regard for the dog or its welfare. The theory is that people often like that look because they think it looks young and cute. The overall term medically for this is BOAS, brachycephalic obstructive airway syndrome. And so the symptoms that are commonly noticed is that the dog will have snoring problems, wheezing problems, heavily panting a lot of the time. They might also do a lot of snorting. They will have difficulties with tolerating movement or exercise or heat or humidity. They might gag when they're trying to swallow food or water, and their gums might become a gray or even a blue color because they're not properly getting oxygen. Some dogs will also experience periods of collapse, and every single year, especially in the summer as it gets warmer, dogs end up dying because of this. We see it all the time in vet clinics. Physically, the traits that cause these symptoms are first and foremost the fact that these dogs do not have appropriate nostrils. Their nares are pinched, and so imagine if you pinch your own nose, how it makes it hard to breathe. And a lot of these stenotic nares will collapse even further as the dog inhales because the dog is trying to breathe so forcefully to get air in. Hole's too small, so they can't get enough air, so then they breathe harder trying to get more air, which collapses the nares even further. These dogs also often have an elongated soft palate, and that ends up obstructing the larynx. This is what's responsible for a lot of the snorting, snoring, gagging, and that sort of a thing. They will also frequently get everted laryngeal saccules. This is tissue that's near the larynx, and with the force that they breathe in, it will pull that tissue out and cause obstruction to the airways. These dogs also frequently have a trachea or windpipe that is proportionally way too small for the size of the dog, the hypoplastic trachea. And over time, as the dog gets older and they've spent every single breath breathing with so much effort, this syndrome does get worse. One of the reasons these dogs struggle so much with the heat is because dogs temperature regulate a lot via panting. These dogs are unable to pass air properly in order to cool themselves via panting, so they struggle. Another reason that these dogs tend to have shorter lifespans is because anything that might cause inflammation or increased effort while breathing disproportionately badly affects the brachycephalic dogs, making their risk of dying higher than it is for a dog that can actually breathe. Brachycephalic dogs on social media is something that I find incredibly frustrating People will share video or photos of these dogs and go, oh, it's so cute. Look at this dog. It's smiling. When in reality, what the dog is doing is desperately trying to get enough oxygen to breathe because they're not able to. And people think that the snorting and the snoring is cute, when in reality it's horrifying because these animals can't breathe. If you want to get a bit of an idea of what it's like to live as they do, imagine pinching your nostrils most of the way closed, only being able to breathe through a small straw. That's what they do for their entire lives. Their welfare is seriously impacted. Let's move on to the second broad category of French Bulldog issues, and those are neurological problems. So research tells us that a lot of the neurological issues that French Bulldogs face are because of a gene mutation that is fixed within the breed. That means that every single dog that is a French Bulldog has this gene mutation. And the DVL2 variant is what's responsible for causing a lot of the vertebral malformations that these dogs have. Because their vertebrae are malformed, they have a lot more instability in their spine than other dog breeds do, and this causes lots of issues. Now, we also need to talk about intervertebral disc disease, or IVDD, because around 50% of French Bulldogs will experience this medical issue as well. This disease is caused when the jelly-like cushion that sits between your vertebrae ends up slipping out of place or rupturing. Then the intervertebral disc will be pressing on the spinal cord, which is incredibly painful and causes neurological symptoms. Now, we have research showing us that the French Bulldog has far worse IVDD outcomes than any other breed, including the Dachshund, which surprised me. This is because of another genetic mutation that French Bulldogs have. CDDY is responsible for chondrodystrophy and disc disease in dogs, and that means that for the French Bulldog, their spines age faster than they would in another dog without this mutation. As if not being able to breathe and having a number of genetic mutations isn't enough, there are way more health problems that the French Bulldog also faces. It's very common for them to have dental issues, things like underbites, crowding, rotated teeth, unerupted teeth. The French Bulldog also commonly has a lot of significant gastrointestinal disease. Because they are forced to breathe with increased effort all the time, this results in common issues like burping and vomiting, which can lead to aspiration pneumonia as well. These dogs also frequently have many skin folds, especially on their face and around their tail. Sometimes the fur on the folds will even be rubbing against their eyeballs, which is horribly painful. And the moisture that's trapped in those skin folds frequently results in infection and pain. French Bulldog also frequently has significant problems with hip dysplasia. There is a strong genetic component to hip dysplasia. I have covered this in a lot of detail in a previous video. I will link it in the description for you. The French Bulldog is also at significant increased risk for elbow dysplasia and fractures. This is because their conformation is so horrific. The last thing that I'll touch on briefly is that the French Bulldog is exceptionally prone to a number of very painful eye issues. This is because with the shortening of the skull and creating that larger domed forehead appearance, the eye socket is actually too shallow, leads to increased risk of the eyeball just falling out. Sometimes we can save the eye, sometimes we can't. This has been a little bit of a whirlwind tour because if I were to in-depth cover every single one of these issues, we would be here for a few hours talking about this. So if there is a topic that I've raised that you'd like me to cover in more detail, please comment it down below. I love to hear those sorts of suggestions from you. We should not support the breeding of dogs that have such significant lifelong welfare concerns. Us simply thinking it's cute is not an appropriate reason to have these dogs appear this way. And due to the prevalence of these genetic mutations that are fixed in the population, it seems that outcrossing is going to be the only option that will enable the breed to gain back some functionality and quality of life. My sincere hope is that things drastically change for this breed. I want them to have an excellent quality of life. I want them to have an appropriate lifespan for the size of dog that they are. How the French Bulldog currently is not fair to the dog. I hope that hearing this information has been eye-opening to you so that you can now understand that what is going on with these dogs is not cute or funny, but that it's actually horrifying. It's appalling to me that we've done this to these dogs and that so many people don't know what's happening with these dogs. I know that there are some breeders out there who are trying to bring back some functionality and the ability to breed back to brachycephalic dogs, and I truly hope they are successful, and I hope that as humans we start to do better, because we really need to. I also put up a new video most Fridays, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. You take care. Bye.